Today, we will try reading the mind of serial killer, how they are formed, why they differ from other types of murderers, and what measures should be taken for preventing development of serial killers in society. How serial killers think, psychological traits and warning signs. Welcome to Historical Mindset, where we uncover the hidden stories, extraordinary moments, and human psychology that shape the world. The mind of a serial killer is a complex mix of psychological, neurological, and environmental factors, which can give rise to patterns of extreme violence and a lack of empathy. Childhood trauma and abuse. A high number of serial killers report experiencing severe abuse, neglect, or trauma in childhood. This can range from physical and emotional abuse to being exposed to a violent or unstable home environment. Personality disorders and psychopathy. Psychopathy is often linked to a lack of empathy, remorse, or guilt, and a high level of manipulativeness. A person with these traits may be more likely to view people as objects rather than individuals, allowing them to harm others without feeling emotional consequences. Brain abnormalities. Some serial killers have abnormalities in the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for decision-making, impulse control, and regulating emotions. When this part of the brain is damaged or develops abnormally, it can lead to poor control over aggressive impulses, a lack of fear, and difficulty understanding the emotions of others. Fantasies and compulsions. Serial killers often have violent fantasies that can become compulsive. Over time, they may feel an overwhelming urge to bring these fantasies to life. Social and environmental influences. Some social conditions, like isolation or lack of healthy relationships, can contribute to a person's development into a serial killer. Dehumanization and objectification of victims. Serial killers often don't see their victims as human beings, but as objects or symbols. This mental detachment helps them act without guilt or remorse. Pattern of multiple murders with cooling off periods. Serial killers commit multiple murders over an extended period, typically with a cooling off period between each killing. This period may last days, weeks, months, or even years, during which they return to normal routines. Personal motives and psychological compulsion. Serial killers are often driven by internal psychological needs, rather than situational motives like revenge, jealousy, or financial gain, which shows absence of a clear personal connection to victims. Method of operation. Serial killers develop a specific method of operation, which includes particular methods and techniques used to commit the crime, often refined over time. Other types of murders often occur due to immediate emotional triggers, like anger, jealousy, or fear, leading to spontaneous acts of violence. Serial killers, however, are less likely to kill due to an immediate emotional response. Enjoyment of media attention or taunting behavior. Some serial killers derive media attention of their crimes, sometimes even taunting law enforcement or the media by leaving clues or contacting them directly. Trophies, in the context of serial killers, are objects or body parts taken from victims to commemorate the act of murder. These items can range from personal belongings like jewelry or clothing to body parts such as hair, bones, or organs. Trophies provide the killer with a sense of accomplishment, power, and control. Many serial killers in history are involved in trophies collection, like Ed Gein, used human body parts to create furniture and clothing. His acts inspired the fictional characters in Psycho and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Jeffrey Dahmer, known as the Milwaukee Cannibal, Dahmer kept the skulls and body parts of his victims to fulfill his fantasies of creating a shrine. Ted Bundy often took Polaroid pictures of his victims and kept their clothing as reminders of his crimes. Dennis Nilsen stored the bodies of his victims in his home for weeks, treating them as companions before disposing of them. Dennis Rader, BTK killer, Rader collected personal items like clothing and driver's licenses from his victims. He would also take photos of his crime scenes. early childhood intervention, positive family environment. A supportive, loving, and stable family reduces the likelihood of mental health issues and violent behavior later in life. Addressing trauma and abuse. Many serial killers report histories of abuse or trauma. Ensuring that children who experience trauma receive appropriate counseling and support can reduce the likelihood of negative outcomes. Screening for behavioral issues. Schools and pediatric clinics can screen children for signs of conduct disorders, antisocial behavior, and other risk factors early. With early intervention, at-risk children can receive treatment before issues escalate. Monitoring violent offenders. Individuals with histories of violence should have access to rehabilitation programs that focus on reintegrating them healthily into society. Certain behaviors, such as animal cruelty, are often linked to violent tendencies. Addressing and intervening in these actions early on through educational and therapeutic approaches may curb escalation into further violence. Research and data collection. Research on common factors that appear in serial killers' backgrounds can provide insights into prevention. Studying how personality disorders, trauma, and other risk factors combine may help society identify and prevent cases before they develop. Better data helps law enforcement, psychologists, and communities understand and prevent violent crimes, especially those by repeat offenders.